Hi, welcome back to the farm. My name's Roz, also known as Passion Flower, and you'll find me here each week talking about my farming and creative life. I haven't done a whole lot around the farm this week for a couple of reasons. Firstly, I have been back at work doing practice exams for the Year 12s, and it's kind of a different kind of intensity, I guess. I know it's only practice, but what we do is try and make them very much like the real thing. So there's lots of running around and organizing people, and so when I've been getting home, I just really haven't been bothered to do too much except come out and give the grain to the sheep and get a little bit of fresh air that way, but really do nothing else. Last weekend, before I started back at work, we did spend a day up at Creswick at the family's holiday house doing some repairs to the decking. So we're hauling wood and cutting and screwing and measuring and all that kind of stuff. So there were 4 of us up there for the day. The boys were on the power tools and the drilling, and my sister and I were doing lots of the measuring and the moving of wood around and bringing like sort of jigsaw puzzling in the pieces of the deck. And then putting down like the weather protection over the new support beams. I did a whole lot of stapling with a staple gun, and so we now have a brand new deck up there, which was a really great thing to get done. We've had a little bit of good rain this week, but obviously we still need a lot more. It is going to be an absolutely warm and lovely weekend, so we're going to get out and enjoy this really beautiful weather. So on the same lines, I honestly haven't done a lot business-wise either. I did do some dyeing at the end of last week. I did a batch of frost on wispy lace. That's it in the skein. So it's a very light purplish grey with sections of yellow and blue and green through it. And this is what it looks like in the skein. I think this would be really perfect for the latest Stephen West MCal as your pop of colour if you're unsure about what colour to go with, because it would blend with almost any other colour palette that you had chosen. So there's that one, and that is now available in the shop. And I've also done a new batch of leaf, which is a bright poppy green, perfect to reflect our current springtime weather. My next market will be in Birregurra on the 19th of October. So I have to get all of this reskeined and labelled, and I want to do a little bit of sorting out of how I want my stall to look. I'm probably not going to do a whole lot more dyeing at this stage, but if there's anything in particular that you have been looking for and it's not currently on my website, perhaps just shoot me a note and I can try and get that done before that market. First to what I'm wearing this week, this is the Yellow Brick Rodeo by Mary Antonella. This is the second one I made. This it's a mosaic yoke, so there's no colour work. That's literally just slip stitches. The dark blue is navy in the Unicorn Solids by Hobby or Hobie. I never know how to pronounce that. But unfortunately, we can't get that here in Australia anymore. But it was a really great full solid color to work with, and it's very soft yarn. And the mosaic in this one is a Dreaming color smushy, which is got cashmere in it. And I don't remember what I made with the rest of this skein, but the yoke doesn't take a lot of yarn, so it's good to use a beautiful variegated special skein that you've got some left over from to create a really pretty summer top. So along the same lines, I didn't actually get a lot of knitting done either. I was feeling a little bit tired at the end of the day, and after doing all that work with the deck at the start of the week, my hands were actually really sore from all the stapling, because I was having to use 2 hands with the staple gun because I'm a bit weak. So the start of the week was a bit slow with that, and then just as I got into the week, I probably only did a few rows here and there. But so the only actual whip that I worked on this week was the baby sleeping bag. that I've been working on out of this Spotlight book, and it is, where's the pattern? It is this here. So I'm making the smallest size of the sleeping bag, and I think I've now done all of the knitting. At the end of last week, I blocked it because I was struggling. It was curling a lot, and it was going to make it much harder to be able to sew it together. So I blocked it, and then I did the neckband, or maybe I did the neckband first. I don't remember now. I have photos, so you'll be able to see. I've now sewn in the sleeves. I've just done mattress stitch, and I've sewn up the sleeves as well because they were knit flat. I've started to I've started to sew up one of the sides, but I've still got a long way to go, but my hands were cramping because of doing that stapling, so I just put it down. So I need to get back to it and finish doing that side, and then I need to buy the big press studs to put along the inside band, and once I've put those on, I will then figure out how many buttons I want to do or how many press studs I want to put on, and at which point I sew up the other side and whether or not I sew up the bottom. So I keep saying sew, and now it's a different kind of sew. So there's still a little bit of work in this, but once I get going on that mattress stitch on that side, it won't take too long. Then a quick trip to Spotlight for those press studs, and then I will be finished. Now, to go with this, I'm also making an aviatrix beanie, which is a series of short row wedges you put together, so it actually makes like a curved hat, which makes it really stretchy both vertically and horizontally. So see how much stretch is in that. I'm making the second size so that the little baby head can kind of grow into a slightly bigger version. I was going to do it in 2 colors, but I decided that I think it looks quite cute in just the dark, and then I might do booties in this dark yarn as well. I'll see how much I have left. I only bought 2 of these, so I'll have to kind of weigh my yarn and figure out how much I've got left at the end. I did end up ripping this out a couple of times, and I'm still not entirely happy with it, but on the dark yarn it's not going to be as difficult to tell. Sorry for the clinking there. It's wrap and turn short rows, and I was twisting my stitches and they were looking quite ugly, so I took a few trials before I was happy with how it's looking, but I am motoring along on that one now, and I should get that finished this coming week. I just need to figure out whether I'm going to do the ear flaps and a tie, or if I just do the ear flaps. And I might even, in the pattern, there's actually a knit flower you can put on. So I might put the flower on in this light purple to go with it. This yarn is the Pure Merino 8-ply 4 Seasons, which you get from Spotlight. And I'm using the pomegranate, which is the dark purple, and hydrangea is the light purple. Since I don't have a lot of other content this week, I thought I'd do a little hot takes, tips, my thoughts on a particular topic. And this week I've chosen socks. So a few things that have come across my feed or that have been asked to me in comments or DMs, and also through a lot of my teaching of sock classes. I thought that I could give my opinion on some of the ideas and things that are out there in regards to socks. So these are my opinions only, and you can take all of them with a grain of salt. But just here is what I think about socks. Number one, I think that socks are absolutely fantastic, and that any knitter should try and knit them. That they're not just for experienced knitters. A lot of people say that beginners shouldn't try knitting socks, that they're too hard, that you should try something simpler before in the round before you start knitting socks. And I say no. If you want to knit a pair of socks, go ahead and knit a pair of socks. It makes no difference whether you're doing large circumference or small circumference. You're learning to knit in the round regardless. I think as long as you can knit and purl, you can be taught how to knit socks in the round just as easily if you haven't knit for very long or if you've been doing it for a really long time. It's more about wanting the project at the end. I taught myself to knit socks when I hadn't been knitting for very long. They weren't a terribly form-fitting pair of socks, but I was able to, they looked like socks and they were perfectly functional, and I was able to knit 2 of them. So it is definitely something that beginners can do if they want to. Another thing that I've heard quite a bit is that I can't wear socks, hand knit socks, during summer. And for me, that is completely untrue. Wool socks are amazing. They breathe, they wick away moisture, and I find that I wear them all year round. I just change the length. So during winter, when I've got gumboots on, I wear long woolen socks, sometimes even DK woolen socks. But during summer, I will wear primarily 4-ply woolen socks, and I make them little shorties. So literally turn my heel, because I will knit generally toe up, turn my heel, do a little bit of cuff, and that's it. So they just stick out just above my shoes if I'm wearing shoes. And obviously I'm not wearing socks with slides and thongs and sandals and all that kind of thing. But if I'm wearing shoes where I would normally wear socks, I would always reach for the woolen socks before I went for the cotton ones from the store. Next, all socks need to be blocked. I am so rough on my socks. The only socks that I ever block are if I am using them as an example for a class, or if I am using them for a sample on my market stall. Even when I'm gifting them, I hardly ever block them unless there's some kind of pattern. That's probably the only reason why I would ever bother to block socks. And I literally, because I use nylon for all of my, and superwash yarn, they go in the washing machine and they go in the dryer. I know, but I can knit myself another pair. So if they get ruined or wear out quicker because of that, that's okay, because I'm always going to knit myself more. So I am very, very rough on my socks, and I think that's why I end up being able to wear them all the time, because they are just part of my regular laundry rotation, and it's not some special thing that I have to do to hand wash and deal with. They literally just get washed like everything else. Another myth is that you need nylon in your yarn in order to make socks. Obviously, nylon does make them stronger and generally will make them wear better, but there are wools that are more resilient, such as BFL, or putting a strand of mohair silk or something like that in with your sock will also make it stronger. You wouldn't want to be knitting your socks with cashmere and it's super fine merino, because that will definitely felt, and you will probably only get one wear and one wash out of them, and then they'll all be done. But there's no reason specifically that you have to use nylon in your socks, especially if you are only wearing them around the house, inside slippers, that kind of thing, because they're not going to get the wear, or even like bed socks, because they're not getting the wear that you would get if you were wearing them every day in a pair of shoes. Another tip to help with the resilience of your sock, whether or not they have nylon in them or not, is to actually knit them on a tighter gauge so that the fabric is much denser and therefore is less likely to be wear. So there's all these different things that you can do. You don't just have to use sock yarn to make socks. And of course, there is the argument of whether to knit socks toe up or cuff down, and some say that there's only one way to do it and that you can't get the right fit by doing it the other way. Look, I am generally a toe up sock person because I'm not a fan of grafting the toe at the end, and I like to make sure that I have enough yarn for the foot and that I can then make the cuffs whatever length I want. That's the way that I do it. And then there's sort of no fussing and mucking around in terms of having to get a needle or anything. Most of the time with the socks that I wear, I hardly even weave in my ends. I just cut it short and just tuck it inside and you're good to go. But that doesn't mean that cuff down is wrong. Some people find that the casting on at the cuff makes it a lot more stretchy, but that's just about finding the right bind off if you're doing it toe up, and they don't mind grafting the toe. So that's fine to go toe or cuff down. There's also a big argument about the fit of the heel and heel flap versus a short row heel. And you can do a gusset heel flap and turn toe up or top down. There are many patterns that can do that. And you can also do a short row heel, cuff down or toe up. So ultimately your sock construction can be completely your own recipe based on trial and error and what fits your foot and finding out what you like to wear, but also what you prefer to knit. So I have come up with the way that I prefer, which is based on the Fish Slips Kiss heel pattern, but you can absolutely knit any kind of sock you want and make it fit you. And the myth that a cuff down sock is going to fit you better is not true, because there are ways to modify either toe up or cuff down to fit you exactly as you would like. Well, that's it for another week. Thanks for spending some time with me. If you're enjoying these videos, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I look forward to seeing you next week on the farm. Bye.